In this lesson, we're going to be looking at building some expressions using algebra based on some worded problems. Now, one thing we'll need later in this lesson is the area and perimeter of rectangles. And so if we've got a rectangle that's got a length and a width, and they could be the other way around, it doesn't matter for a rectangle. For the area is just the length times the width. So whatever this length is here times whatever that width is there gets you the area. And for the perimeter, that is all the way around the outside. And so I'll be doing length plus width plus length plus width. Remember, of course, this side is exactly the same as that side, and this side's exactly the same as that side. So we know in algebra a letter is used to represent an unknown value, and what we're going to do is we're going to use that letter to write an expression. So if we had James has D dollars in his pocket and he takes $5 out, how much does he have left? And so here we're going to have to think first. How would I work this out normally? Just forget about algebra. How would I work it out? Well, I'd have whatever he started with take away the $5 because he starts with a certain amount and we're taking away $5. So whatever he starts with, take 5 away from what he started with. And this is saying he starts with D. So that means we can take 5 away from D. What does that look like? It looks like D minus 5. So that's the way we're going to have to think about these problems. Let's try another one. I've got N bags and each bag's got 7 items in it. How many items do I have? So let's think it without the algebra part. I'd just be taking however many bags I've got times 7 because every bag has got 7 things in it. And so it's the number of bags times 7. And so I'll be multiplying 7 by how many bags I have, and it tells me I've got N bags. And so I'm going to multiply 7 by N, and that'll just look like this, 7N, and that'll be my answer using algebra. Another one we can look at is if we've got 6 friends going out to eat and the total cost is C dollars. How much do they pay if they're all paying an equal share? And again, let's think of it without the algebra. If it costs a certain amount and there's 6 of us, how do we work out how much each one has to pay? Well, we're just going to do the certain amount divided by 6. So the cost, whatever it costs, divide that by 6. That tells you how much I've got to pay, how much you've got to pay, etc. And so since the cost is C, we're really doing C divided by 6. So divide C by 6, and we show that as a fraction. Remember, that means that one divided by the bottom one there. So C divided by 6. No need to include the dollar sign there. By the way, we know it's about dollars. Let's take a look at a different one here entirely. This time we're going to find the area of this rectangle. And so again, let's think, how do I normally find the area of a rectangle? Don't worry about algebra yet. How do I normally find the area of a rectangle? I go length times width. All right, well, what's the length and width in this case? The length is B and the width is A. And it doesn't matter if you call them the other way around. You can call A the length and B the width if you want. You'll get the same answer. So since the area is length times width, then that means the area is just going to be A times B. Because remember, we had length times width, or length times width, doesn't matter. But remember, we do put these in alphabetical order when we're putting letters together. So it should be A, big A for area equals AB. Let's have a look at some examples now to see what sort of questions we can expect. We'll start by writing an expression for the area of this shape here. And so the first thing I want to think about is, how do I find the area of any shape? I do length times width. And that means I'm just going to say, what is the length and what is the width of this shape? And so I'm going to say the width is 12, and the length, well, that's down here. That's the 7 and the x together. And so adding together, x plus 7 is what the length is. And so if I now just need to write down the area of it, I'm going to do the length times by the width. And that writes down like this. That's the length times by the width. Well, it's actually the width times by the length there. Remember, it doesn't matter which way around you do these, but you wouldn't write down x plus 7 in brackets, then 12 after it. The number always goes in front. And so again, it doesn't matter which way around you think of these as length or width, you'll still end up with that same answer, kind of like that putting them in alphabetical order we saw just before. Now, second example, It costs a flat fee of $3 to hire a bicycle. That means you pay the $3 no matter what, and then another $2 per hour that you use it. And so part A says write an expression for the cost of hiring a bicycle for X hours. And so again, we're going to have to think it costs $3 plus $2 for each hour. So in other words, $2 times the number of hours. And so now we just have to say, well, how do I write that down using algebra, using maths? And it's going to look like this. We're going to start with 3 because that's the $3, and then we'll need to add $2 times the number of hours. So we're going to say 2x because it tells us x has to be hours. And so that's $3 plus 2 times x, 2 times the number of hours. And that's it for part A. Now, when I look for part B here, how much does it cost to hire the bicycle for 5 hours? Well, now it's telling me a value of x. And so remember, x is an unknown value. Well, now it's telling me, why don't you use 5 for that value and see what happens. And so what we do is we write out 3 plus 2 times 5 this time because it's telling me it's 5 hours, and then I can just work that out using BODMAS, and so that will just be equal to 13 hours. Now, some students pick this up very quickly. For other people, it takes a little bit of time. But either way, let's have a go at a couple of practice questions to see how you're going. Remember to stop and think about each one in non-algebra terms first, and remember to pause the video. And there's our solutions to those ones. So in the first one, it was asking about the perimeter of this rectangle, and it's very easy to get this confused with area. Perimeter is not length times width, it's the length plus the width plus the length again plus the width again. In other words, you're adding this side, then this side, then this side, then this side. And so that's what I've done there. 2x plus 3x, that's that plus that, and then plus this is 2x and this is 3x. Of course, these two are the same size, and so these two here. And when I do all that, I just collect my like terms. So what's 2 plus 3 plus 2 plus 3? It's 10, so altogether there were 10 x's, and that's my final answer. And with part B, there's D dogs in the yard. And how many legs does each dog have? We already know that. It's got 4 legs. And so I stop and think, if I knew there was a certain number of dogs there and I just wanted to work out how many legs there were without just counting them, how would I work it out? Well, I'd multiply the number of dogs by 4 because there's 4 legs for each dog. And so that's what I wrote down as my answer. Of course, I put the number first because that's what you do in algebra, but that's really just the number of dogs times 4 for their 4 legs. Here's a couple more if you need to have another go. Remember to pause the video. And there's the solutions to these ones. And that brings us to the end of this lesson.